Hey guys, Friday night in the shop. Let's jump right into it. Let's check the squish and timing numbers on a Mac Super Pro 80. Okay, well, we have this thing on the bench, and before I clean it up or really do anything to it, I got the rings out of the piston. That took some work. Rusted in, just absolutely stuck. Again, this rod feels okay. I'm not sure what we're going to do with this thing, but we're going to check it and port it, and we'll use different parts. Well, that's not going to come off, so we'll just leave that for right now. This saw's been laying dormant for a long time. Okay, let's put this thing back together. What's going on here? I don't even have a ring on this thing. Okay. Okay, so McCullough's are a clamshell. Now again, if you are going to do a base cut on one of these, and I have done it, okay, what I did, how I did it was I used feeler gauges, okay, because when you cut this base, these pockets end up off. Now, I don't have a mill. If you have a mill, well, that's easy. Just, get a fly cutter or whatever, if that's even the right word for it, but mill off your base after you zero it out and then cut this pocket deeper and away you go. I don't have a mill, so I did the last one by hand. It worked. I don't recommend it. It took a lot of work, but it worked. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, now I am not a McCullough whisperer. I will say that. The bellhopper, the bellhopper knows these things inside and out. I had the pleasure of running I believe it was a ported cart engine of his at Buckenstock. That thing was nuts. It pulled super hard. Okay, so this cylinder, if you're going to take a cylinder off one of these, you got to go through the oil tank. Okay, now I'm just going to quick and dirty this. If you have a McCullough that smokes like crazy and your mixer's 50 to 1, which is what I would run in this saw, I get asked that all the time. Okay, if you have a McCullough that smokes like crazy, then it's not your mixture. It is these screws. If you notice on these ones, there's little rubber gaskets that go under there, and they end up looking like that, just destroyed. And what happens is when the piston goes up, it creates a vacuum, right? And that vacuum pulls oil out of the oil reservoir into your bottom end and ends up creating a 200 to 1 mix, and you end up with a saw that's smoking like crazy. So how do you fix that? Well, how I've done it in the past, you don't need these O-rings. I take the O-rings off. I clean everything up real good. Okay. I'll dump all this out and I clean in here as good as I can. And I will coat this in sealant, like this top section in assembly silicone. Screw it back together nice and dry. Let it dry overnight. And Bob's your uncle. It won't leak anymore. That's always worked for me. Okay, guys, so I've done a Super Pro 70, which is the 70cc version of this power saw. Okay, now I always tell you guys to write notes because, well, you might remember what you done to a saw last year, maybe the year before that, but if you're me, I can't remember every saw. What did we do to that saw? Now, I did some weird stuff to that. Stuff that I wouldn't recommend. I think I went too far on that saw. But, and you can ask Buckin this if he was here. He said that saw is something special. I took a dog Mac and made it into a real runner. And I was pretty proud of that. Did it all on my own with a few tips from, Donnie Walker. Pretty sure I reached out to Power Saw Rob. He used to be on Buckin's channel all the time. Just asked a few guys about these and went from there. So, Super Pro 70 stock timing numbers. My squish on that saw was 46 thousandths. Okay, that's why I did machine work. I couldn't remember where it was at, but I remember it was quite high. Let's see if I can get a flywheel on here or a clutch. And of course, these clutches are keyed on. Let's see if we have... Friends, I bought this thing ripped apart as a basket case. My buddy hooked me up with it. Thank you. You know who you are. He watches the channel. And him and I have been horsing around with these things for years, you know. Trading and selling and buying. And if I could help him out, I will. Wow, look at the carbon that just came out of this thing. That's all carbon. Okay. Him and I have been horsing around for years, and he had this thing. I don't know where he got it from, but he gave it to me reasonable. These things are getting to be expensive. I wouldn't pay top dollar for a saw like this that's in pieces. But I got this for a fair deal. I'll leave it at that. And anyhow, so my Super Pro 70 had 50 thou squish. Let's grab a clutch and some of this stuff and just see where this thing's at. Well, I got the flywheel. This is one thing he said. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a holdup. I suspect. I have a couple of Mac flywheels. I have a very small selection of parts for these saws. But I think I'll probably have what I need. And we can always mix and match 850 parts with these. Let's see if I can get this on here. Where's my key? Right here. There we go. Okay, that'll be sufficient. We're going to time this saw. But first things first, I was going to say, let's take the spark plug out. But we ain't got no spark plug, so that's good. Okay, this is, I believe, 50,000 squish stuff. 50 thou. Zero this thing out. That's like 55 thousandths. I use this stuff a lot now, as I find it covers pretty much every saw. For those of you that have been watching, my Harley project's kind of stalled. Because those pistons are not marked, I don't know what they are, and I'm having a really hard time finding a ring that fits. So I ordered CP Carrillo Mallet rings that are supposed to fit a Wiseco piston, etc., etc. They are wrong, so I'm not. And I ordered them all the way from California, and I don't think I'm going to send them back because that'll cost me almost more than they cost. So, anyways, yeah, trying to figure out what we got. Okay, curl this around here and see if we can get kind of a. Well, we know right now that this thing has gargantuan squish. Because, well, that didn't stop it. Hopefully, well, let's see if we can. Like, did that even squish it, friends? I don't think so. This thing has, yeah, see if we can. I don't even know if I have thicker solder out here. Let me check. Well, guys, it appears I do not have my thick solder out here. Probably in the house, so I just wrapped a bunch of solder around itself, and hopefully I can squish this with my hands. I just want to get a rough, this will be a really rough reading. I'm just going to cut the edge off here. Work with what you got, guys. It's just a chainsaw. We don't got to be fancy, right? Well, at least I don't have to be. I never have been fancy, so why start now? Just want to get a rough estimate. I can recheck this later. This is just to help me. This is just to help me decide what I'm going to do with this project And again, friends, I'm going to refund this because this flywheel's broken. Need to get a prying apparatus. Give me a second here. Like so. Oh, that might be a little too thick. We're gonna give her a go though. There you go. Couple times. Okay. Let's pull it out and just there. See, guys, that'll give us a good reading. How bad is it? Wow. $69 thousandths. Yeah, anywhere from 64 to 69 thousandths. So we will reinvestigate that later. Okay, I'm going to put a new page in the book. I have had this book for years and years. There's our 064. Okay, we'll start a new page. Okay, Mac SP80 Squish. It's a little cold in here. Squish will go 65 thousandths. Okay, this is stock. Okay, well, we might as well throw a timing wheel. Exhaust, transfers, intake. So, I've been told that these Super Pro 80s are not a great running Mac. And I'm going to roll with that. With a 65 thou squish, that's pretty bad. So, realistically, friends, if I want to take a crack at this, I got to cut 40 thou off, which is, let's see if I can get this on here. About that, okay? Nothing. It's not a ton, but it's a lot. So something to take into account. This is an old saw. This is also a clamshell. Clamshells tend to have looser squish than a normal saw. Anything with a like this thing's dirty, but where is that? Let's just keep going through here. Okay, so the McCullough was 46 thou stock. And what did I write down here? Well, I never wrote down what I set the squish at. I'm pretty sure I took 20 thou off that thing. I might have to look at some old video, and see. But, okay, we know we ran it at 97, 120, and 77 intake. I over-intake that saw. It was not a great idler. I would prefer to not do that again. So I'm going to mind my P's and Q's on this one and see if I can just leave it close enough to stock and get it to run better. Okay, I'm putting my piston stop in here. Let's get a timing wheel set up on this thing. Okay, and all I'm doing here for setup, piece of wire, looking through here, and you can see the piston. It's at bottom dead center, which is 180, which is right here. Okay, and all I'm going to do is take this pointer and bend it. This is just a piece of welding rod. You use whatever you have around. Coat hanger, as long as it's something that's fairly stiff. Okay, and I'm going to cut it on an angle. Okay, and this will give me roughly what I need here. Okay, I'm going to get you guys set up better so you can see. We'll zero this thing and let's time it. Okay, I got you guys set up pretty much. That should be 180. Here, I'll move you over. Always get some parallax on the camera. There you go. There's 180. All I'm going to do is turn this thing around until it hits the timing stop. And it's stopped at 55 degrees. Now we'll just go the other way. And it should stop at 55 degrees the other way. Oh, we're close there. I got it within... We're 2 degrees off, so I'll move it 1 degree. So we're at 56 degrees. There you guys go. We'll put it the other way, and it should be, hopefully, at 56 degrees. And we're not, so I'm going to go in between the two. Okay, we'll go the other way. Should be in between the two. There we go. Okay, you guys see that? So we're 50, 55, 6.5 roughly. Okay, 56.5 one way, 56.5 the other way. All right, that's how you do it. It's pretty simple stuff. I'm gonna unscrew this. Now I'm gonna do this one by eyeball. Actually, well, we'll see. You guys want to see the wheel, don't you? Yeah, you do. Okay, so turn this thing all the way around, top to center. These things park. Okay, let's see. Right now I look at, where does this thing stop moving? Right about there. Okay, so we're 6 degrees and it parks. Okay, now this thing doesn't stop moving until, it doesn't start moving until about right. Okay, so this thing parks for 12 degrees. You might want to make note of that in your travels. Here, a little tip, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this, guys, but you guys that hang out here and you're still watching, a saw that parks for longer at top dead center will gather more energy before it starts going down, is what I find. Okay, time how far a saw stops, you know. Make note of that. You might notice some patterns. The saws that poured up really strong might park for longer. I've noticed that over the years. Post below if you've noticed that. Okay, so we're top dead center. Let's see, where does this thing open at? Right about... Now I'm just looking through the exhaust port. You can't really do first ray of light with these things because the exhaust port is only about this deep, okay? So what I do is I usually eyeball them. Now if you're not happy with that, take a feeler gauge of whatever thickness, not too thick. Take your feeler gauge and stick it in the exhaust port on top. Okay, I'm going to grab like a 10 thou feeler gauge. Where's a 10 thou here? Just going through all my feeler gauges. Okay, I'm going to grab a 10 thou feeler gauge and I'm just going to stick it in there to give you an idea of where this thing's stopping at. Okay, so this is telling me that this thing's opening at about 109 after top dead center, okay? And that was actually 109 before top dead center because I actually have the saw upside down, but here, okay? 109 after top dead center with a 10 thou feeler gauge. I'm going to write that down. Okay. 110 after, or sorry friends, 109 after top dead center. Okay. So again, really low exhaust roof, really loose squish. So what this thing loses in loose squish, it makes up for in a low exhaust roof. right? The exhaust roof closes sooner, and you end up with more air getting compressed because the exhaust closes sooner. Problem with that is you end up with a super low RPM saw. Okay, now I'm just going to eyeball this here. Okay, I brought a light close so that I can see the transfers closing. Okay, I'm looking right now. Right about there. Okay, interesting. Just eyeballing it right about there. Okay, so 131, 32, 33. 133. Interesting. I have never timed a Mac that has long blowdown. Okay, 133 minus 109 is 24 degrees of blowdown. So, if I raise the exhaust roof on this, I am probably, not probably, I will raise the upper transfers. Okay. Now, what we have to do is, we got to take this thing. I'm going to move this light back so that you guys can see a little bit better. Okay. Now what I got to do is, I got to take this thing and I got to stand it straight up and down. Okay. I'm trying to set this thing up so you guys can see. I can always do this after. This gives you an idea. We should be at 102. What are you guys seeing? You guys are seeing 101, and I'm seeing 102. So, well, maybe we can prop you up on something here. I don't think that's going to help you. Here. See if we can get you guys just a little bit higher. There, that's better. You're at about 102. Now all I'm going to do is look through the intake side. And I'm going to time it as it opens. This intake opens very abruptly in the middle. I'm just going to get my light down here again. Okay. I'm going to time where it opens. There's a little lip, and I'll show you guys. Weird. It opens in the middle and the sides. I'm going to time it right there. Okay. What are we at? We're at 72, so it should open. We're just going to close this thing back here. Right about there. Interesting. Right there it opens. So we are 75. Having a little bit of a hard time because the ignition's still on. Okay, and when do we close? Right about. So what are we? 66, 7, 68. And where are we on this side? Remember, just on the intake especially, just because it opens 65. Okay, so we have inconsistent timing numbers on the intake. Should we re-zero this? Yes, we should. Just because we want to make sure we're getting the right numbers. Now, if we zero it and it's still zeroed, then we have an offset crank in this saw. What should we be at? We're at 56, just like before. So we have moved half a degree, so we are actually off. We want 56 and a half, just like we had before, correct? 56 and a half. And 56 and a half. Now let's take a new peek at the intake. Again, flipping Macs are harder to time because you got all these, you got to turn it upside down and around. Okay, I'm just looking at the intake. It opens right about there. Okay, so we're 65. And I'm fighting the ignition system. And it should close right about there. And where are we here? Yeah, 65 and 65. So 130 degrees. That is a Mac. Macs seem to time right around 130 degrees. Okay, let's look at the numbers and see what we got. Okay, guys, this is what we have. Mac Super Pro 80, Squish 65 thou. Crazy, I know. That's a Mac, though. That's how these things roll. Exhaust 102, transfers 128, intake 130. Let's compare that to the Pro Mac 850 that's also sitting on the bench. Squish was 35 thou. Exhaust was 104, transfers 114. Okay. Well, the Super Pro 80, I retimed it. Okay. You notice the numbers are different on the Super Pro 80. Well, I put a flashlight in there real good off camera and I retimed everything and my timing numbers were a little bit off. So I'm going with what I saw with the flashlight. Intake 61. Okay. So the Super Pro 80 had 122 degrees of total intake. Ported, I landed 100, 114, 65. Okay. I hit 130, 14 degrees of blowdown, and 160 total opening. So if we go by these numbers, we have 26 degrees of blowdown. Okay. So now the question is, where would I go with this saw? Well, if I lower this to 30 thousandths, okay, that would give me 35 thou squish, just like the Super Pro. We know they'll run like that. We could even lower it 35 thou, 40 thou even. I might go 40 thou and just see what I can get away with. Okay. This exhaust, let's hypothesize I'm going to port this thing. My exhaust, maybe I'll go 98. I'm curious how Mac will run at 98. Macs have a lot of torque. A lot of these old saws have a lot of torque. They will tolerate a high exhaust roof. Transfers, well, 128 and 98 would give me 30 degrees of blowdown. That's probably too long for this saw. I'd say like 122 degrees on the transfers. 24 degrees of blowdown I'd end up with. Intake, well, here's the thing, friends. If I lower this cylinder, my intake's going to get longer. I might not even have to port the intake. Okay. My guess is if I go 40 thousandths is probably equal. 40 thousandths of the saw is probably equal to 2 degrees. Okay. So if I lower it 40 thousandths, I'll end up with 104, 130. Okay. And my total opening will be 134 or more. Okay. So that's how that ends up. This would be 75, right? It opens at 75 and closes at 75. So if we lowered it, it's probably, sorry friends, not 75, 65. Okay, and if I lower it, it's probably going to open and close, we'll say 67, and close at 67. Well, 67 plus 67 would be 134. Okay, so that's probably where I want to set this saw up. I may go to 140. I'm going to tell you, do not over intake a Mac. You will be sorry. These things, just like anything else, don't change the timing too much. They're that way for a reason. And if you can't look at them and figure out, like look at this intake, friends. It's very wide, but very, very short. Okay. It also opens in the middle and the middle. Okay, you see that? See how it opens? Think about that. Okay. Anyhow, friends, this video is getting long enough. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. See you guys in a couple days. Later.